We continue where we left off last time, with Aya telling Kakeru that she has a favor to ask him. Kakeru thinks there's no point in continuing to pretend, and we get this epic reference. Kakeru. Although, as we know, everything always happens only in his mind, and he's actually wondering if there isn't some way to escape all this, and we get another epic reference. He asks if you know who it is. Aya speaks to him and tells him that what she wants is for Nato Kyoko to suffer the same fate as the other classmates who bother her. For those who don't remember who Nato is, she's the class's top one. Kakeru can't believe she's actually asking him that, and Aya tells him that she knows he was the one who stole the other girls' uniforms, since he didn't actually go to the hospital, and that's why he was the only one who could have done it. Kakeru is still trying to justify himself and asks her how she knew he was in the bathrooms in the first place, that she's really just basing everything on assumptions. So he thinks that if that's the case and she doesn't really have convincing proof, he'll just deny everything. Aya tells him that she knows that's not enough to blame him, that her true reasons arose when they met that day, as she always knew that he goes to the third-floor bathrooms every day and locks himself in them. And she reminds him that the day they met, he lied to her saying that a teacher had sent him to organize some cleaning supplies. Kakeru wonders how she knows that, and the answer is quite simple. She was actually the one who was sent to organize them. That her teacher asked her to do it because the cleaning lady was on vacation. Kakeru thinks how the hell was he supposed to know that, and Aya tells him that it was from that day that she began to suspect him, although at first she didn't pay much attention to it. But when the incident happened where she fell out of the tree trying to get her uniform, she realized he was leaving school, so she decided to follow him, and that's how she found out that every day he goes to the third-floor bathrooms after classes. She says she doesn't know or care what he does in them, though she thinks it probably isn't anything decent. Kakeru tells her that he understands how she deduced everything, but he tells her there's something he doesn't understand, and that's why she asked him to get revenge on Nato. Aya becomes very serious and tells him that she wants to be the receiver of the girls' bathroom. Kakeru is as dumbfounded as we are. Aya says she'll stop beating around the bush and tell him everything clearly. Basically, she blackmails him, saying that if he doesn't do everything she asks, she'll tell everyone his secret. She doesn't know if once will be enough or not, but either way he has no way of refusing. Our little one turned out to be brave, folks. Obviously, Kakeru knows he has no choice, so he asks her to at least explain why she wants revenge on Nato, saying that she's not like the others who bother her. Aya says that although Nato hasn't done anything directly to her, she always sees her enjoying herself when the other girls are bothering her. And Kakeru remembers that the time the girls forced her to confess to pizzas, Nato was one of the ones who pushed for it the most and enjoyed the situation. So Aya confesses to him that she simply can't forgive her, that for her Nato is the same as the other girls who bother her, so she asks him to please help her get revenge in her place. Kakeru says he can't believe the contrast between the Aya he thought he knew and the one in front of him at that moment. Aya tells him that she will come back tomorrow at the same time, so she hopes he can give her an answer. She apologizes for interrupting his happy hour and leaves. And the chapter ends with a pensive Kakeru, saying that he doesn't know what will happen with his life from now on. The next day at school, Kakeru can't stop thinking about what happened. Quite confused, he wonders how everything ended up this way. He even feels a little betrayed, since what he did was to help Aya and now she's putting him on the ropes. Besides, he wonders if it's really okay to do that to Nato, since she doesn't seem to him as bad a girl as Aya says. Although it's true that she sometimes joins the other girls to bother her, it doesn't seem like enough reason to get revenge on her. He can't stop thinking that what Aya asked him to do is wrong. And we can see that although Kakeru and Aya have bumped into each other several times during the day, they haven't spoken to each other since yesterday. Classes end and Kakeru says he has no other option, and as always he first goes to the library to pass the time while all his classmates leave. When he arrives, he realizes that there are a lot of people there. Apparently, it started raining, so many of them went there to kill some time until it stopped. But Kakeru can't concentrate on his reading because of all the noise. He thinks his day can't get any worse, and then a girl speaks to him to ask him what he's reading. It's Takegawa, the class's top 2. She asks him if the seat next to him is empty and sits down. Kakeru can't help but be a little surprised that a girl like Takegawa spoke to him and sat next to him, so he stares at her and she asks him if something's wrong. Kakeru, a little nervous, tells her it's nothing and thinks that since they've shared a class, this is the first time he's spoken to her, although in his mind he's already done everything to her. Kakeru asks Takegawa what she's reading. She tells him, and Kakeru, very excited to have already read it, is about to accidentally give her a spoiler, and Takegawa immediately stops him. He apologizes, but the very kind girl tells him it's okay. Then there's a little silence, and Kakeru can't stop wondering why Takegawa would have come to talk to him. He thinks there were many other classmates, that his only connection with her is that he's dedicated several sessions to her, so he deduces that it was just a coincidence. Then Takegawa asks him if he reads very often. Kakeru tells her yes, and she replies that she supposed so since she's sometimes seen him reading alone during breaks. After that, there's another long silence. Kakeru, a little nervous, wonders how he should continue the conversation since he'd like to interrupt her reading. Our boy is little, we have to take care of him, folks. Then the rain stops and all his classmates, including Takegawa, leave. But before she does, she says goodbye to him very kindly and tells him she'll see him later. Kakeru is left alone in the classroom, looks at the clock and says it's time. But as he gets up, a little confused, he wonders how long it had been since he felt so good without the need to shake it himself. So he wonders if it was because he managed to overcome the stress he felt because the rain stopped, or perhaps it's because he had a conversation with Takegawa. As he heads to the bathroom, he thinks he doesn't know why, but it seems he has already accepted his fate. Sometime later, Aya arrived. She asks him if he has made a decision. Kakeru replies by saying that he never had to, since he actually never had another option. The chapter ends with Aya thanking him for accepting so soon and saying that she will explain her plan. The next day in class, the teacher is very angry, telling them that until the culprit appears, no one can go home. Apparently, Nada did decide to complain about what happened. Their teacher tries to pressure them, saying that if they don't confess now, it will be too late. It's clear that Kakeru has no intention of turning himself in, and he thinks this incident went further than planned. They take us back 3 hours to tell us what happened, basically the same as with the other girls. Kakeru pleasured himself with Nada's uniform. The only difference was that, as I told you before, she did choose to complain to the teacher. Returning to the present, we see that the bald guy tells the professor that what he is doing is useless, since it's impossible for the culprit to confess. It might even be from another class, so he asks them to let them go since he has club activities. The professor shouts at him to shut up while Kakeru thinks he wants everything to end so he can go read at the library. So the professor proposes something. He gives each of them a sheet of paper and tells them to write what they think about the incident, noting that they don't need to put their names since it will be anonymous. Kakeru writes that he has no idea why the culprit acted that way. Changing scenes, we see him talking to Aya in the bathrooms. She seems a little worried, saying that if the teacher had discovered them, she wouldn't have known what to do, so she thanks him. Kakeru asks her if he will be free with this. Aya says yes and thanks him again, and assures him that she will no longer go to the bathroom to bother him. Although we see that it practically won't be like that, since Aya, before leaving, tells him that if for any reason he wants to get revenge on someone again, she will come looking for him. Obviously, Kakeru is very happy, saying that he has no way of refusing, so they say goodbye. The next day it's raining and we see Kakeru in the library again, where he meets Takegawa. She asks him if he can recommend a good book. Kakeru recommends a science fiction one that's easy to read. And they spend a long time talking about their reading hobbies, so Kakeru can't stop thinking that unlike last time, this time he's talking to her a lot, feeling a pleasant and comfortable sensation doing so. During their conversation, Takegawa asks Kakeru if he hasn't thought about writing a novel someday. She thinks he would be capable of doing it. Takegawa confesses that although she has read many books, she has never found one that manages to shake her heart, that at least once in her life she wants to experience that sensation. So she makes him promise that if he ever manages to create one so sweet that it's capable of shaking her heart, he'll let her read it. They say goodbye and Kakeru looks at the clock while thinking that without realizing it, it got very late. So he says he won't be able to go to the bathroom to choke the goose, although he confesses that in reality he doesn't feel like doing it, so he decides to go home instead. Although before leaving school he stops for a moment. He thinks that since the school trip starts tomorrow, he will have to suspend his session routine. Although he doesn't like the idea, he'll have to do it. The chapter ends with Kakeru thinking about Takegawa while muttering softly that in reality, he would love for it to rain again tomorrow. The day of the school trip arrived. Cauliflower is all excited wanting to take their picture, but Kakeru doesn't seem to like them much, so he covers his face. And in doing so we get this other epic reference. Thus begins the first day of adventure. Kakeru can't help but think about how peculiar his group is, mostly because of the type of relationship they have with each other. Cauliflower names their group SOS, which stands for Savor Our School Trip. The first place they went was a place called Nara. They walk around the place for a bit, take some photos, rest a little while eating, and continue sightseeing. Then they run into the girls who bother Aya, and Kakeru can't help but wonder how they can smile so calmly after everything they've done. They continue their tour and meet Takegawa. She greets Kakeru and asks him if he's having fun. Cauliflower asks her why she's not with her group, and she says she'd like to go with them since they're quite a different group. She and Kakeru spend time talking about books, and we see how Takegawa seems to be quite chill and interacts with everyone in the group without a problem. So Kakeru thinks that this ability is surely the reason why she's so popular. They find a small game and Cauliflower says he wants to try it. Basically, it's about going through that hole, but he gets stuck. Takegawa says she also wants to try, but for a moment, we see how Kakeru is again a prisoner of his instincts, saying that he will save that image in his head as material for his next session. They arrive at the place where they are staying, eat, shower, go to bed, and thus ends the first day. The second day begins. The whole group heads to an aquarium. They spend quite a while exploring the whole place. Kakeru can only think about how boring everything is, that although Cauliflower is always full of enthusiasm and pizzas and Aya are interacting a little more, he simply can't adapt well with them. He thinks he had to postpone his daily routine because of the trip, although for some strange reason he confesses that maybe feeling that boredom isn't so bad. And just when everything seemed to be going a little better for our protagonist, Aya grabs him and tells him she has something to talk about with him. So she asks him to go up to the Ferris wheel together to do it, completely ruining the good atmosphere that surrounded Kakeru. Upon getting on, Aya tries to change the tense atmosphere, but Kakeru tells her to stop messing around and get to the point. She tells him okay, what she wants is for him to eliminate 2 people, although by eliminate, I understand she means to get revenge on them. Kakeru quickly asks her who they are. The first is Seiki-kun, better known as Pizzas. Kakeru is surprised and asks her why she wants to do something to him. Aya confesses that since yesterday, he hasn't stopped looking at her in a disgusting way. However, to summarize, Aya doesn't really want him to do anything bad. She just asks him to pretend that they are a couple so that Pizza stops bothering her. Kakeru doesn't think it's much of a problem, so he accepts without much drama. As for the second target, it's Yashiro Meiko, who is the other missing member of the trio that always bothers Aya. Kakeru asks her if that girl has done anything to her recently, since she's now in another class. And again, to summarize, Aya wants to get revenge on her because she saw her happily laughing with a boy who is apparently her boyfriend, and she says she will never be able to forgive her for acting as if nothing happened after everything she did to her. Kakeru initially rejects her, saying he doesn't have time for something so trivial, but after listening a bit more to Aya and everything that girl did to her, he asks her if she has a plan. But she carelessly tells him no, that he will have to think of one, and uses a bit of reverse psychology on him to make him accept. Kakeru of course has no choice but to give in. As they get off the ride, they introduce Kakeru-kun's next target. She is with the boy Aya mentioned named Yamada Mitsuji, who is apparently her new boyfriend. They honestly look quite cute and in love, so Kakeru doubts a bit if all this will be okay, but Aya makes a crazy face saying that she will make sure those two never forget this school trip. Night falls and Kakeru is in his room with Cauliflower. He seems to be watching an anime and falls asleep after finishing it. When he does, Kakeru approaches him and makes sure he really is asleep. Then he goes into the bathroom, prepares his tools, and takes his goose for a walk. Apparently, our boy could only last days without doing it. And so, the third and last day of the trip begins. Their teacher gathers them and tells them that this day will be free and they can do whatever they want. He just asks them to arrive at a certain time, not to go too far and not to get into trouble. Cauliflower's group is thinking about where to go, and Kakeru quickly responds by pointing to a place. Apparently, he wants to take the same path as Meiko and her boyfriend to put his revenge into action. Aya asks Kakeru what his plan is. He tells her that at an opportune moment he will put that bottle in Mako's backpack. It has something special inside. Aya gets curious, so she uncaps the bottle and says it smells a little strange. Kakeru tells her that he put papers full of his semen inside it. Aya gets a little nervous and shouts at him not to make her touch strange things, but Kakeru teases her a bit, saying that since she's forcing him to help her, he should at least have a little fun. Aya asks him if he really thinks he can do it, since they are in a public place and he will have to be very careful. Kakeru tells her yes, as long as they can create a small distraction to do it. But we can see that in reality, Kakeru doesn't give a damn if he can achieve it or not, because although he understands and feels a little pity for what they did to Aya, he actually doesn't agree with what she wants to do, so he hopes to end the day peacefully without having to get his hands dirty. Just then, Aya quickly asks him to take her hand, apparently so that pizzas will stop bothering her. Poor pizzas, folks. Then they meet Takegawa again. She apparently decided to leave her group and wants to interact with new people, so she joins them. Kakeru quickly asks Aya to let go of his hand, as he apparently doesn't want Takegawa to misunderstand him. We see that she, as always, is being friendly with everyone, so they get on and visit several places. After a while, Takegawa says goodbye to them, saying she will go with another group now. We see that it is already 2:30 in the afternoon and Aya asks Kakeru to hurry since they have until 3:30, meaning they only have 1 hour left. Although we see that this is actually Kakeru's plan, they then enter a store and we see that the victim is there with her boyfriend. The store seems to be flooded with people, so Aya tells him it's his moment to do it. Kakeru is hesitating whether to do it, but Aya asks him to hurry. Kakeru has no other option and approaches them to finish all this once and for all. He gets behind them, takes out the bottle, and just when he is about to do it, he stops at the last moment, saying that the couple looks so happy that he simply didn't dare to do anything to them. The deadline arrives and everyone gets on the bus to return. Aya asks him why he stopped at the last moment, if he had forgotten about their deal. Kakeru tells her no, but he uses an interesting analogy and confesses that this time, he was not able to defeat his opponents. Aya doesn't understand what he's talking about, and it seems Kakeru doesn't understand it very well either, but he wonders who he imagined when he saw them. Apparently, our protagonist is finally having normal teenage behaviors. Aya tells him it's okay, but there won't be a next time. Then Kakeru tells her that he has no idea what horrible things those girls did to her, but he asks her if she really thinks she can solve things with those acts of sexual harassment, and practically gives a wise speech about how revenge is not good, it kills the soul and poisons it, and ends all this by telling her that if she continues like this, she will end up carrying unbearable stress and in the end, her wounds will not heal. Aya tells him it's useless for him to try to evangelize her, but she accepts that she is too weak to do anything by herself. Kakeru tells her that he has never thought she was, and that's why he doesn't understand how someone as strong as her doesn't find another way to resolve her feelings. The chapter ends with Aya telling him that their agreement will continue after this and Kakeru accepting, then falling asleep. A new chapter begins. Kakeru and company are looking at the photos they took on the trip, and we see Aya, for the first time, let out a small mocking smile when she sees a picture of Kakeru with cauliflower. Several days later, Kakeru runs into Takegawa again in the library. He seems to be increasingly chill, saying that he really enjoys the time he spends with Takegawa, so much so that his titan starts to get hard. Apparently, talking to her made him even more aroused and well, just when we thought our protagonist was changing. As I mentioned before, it seems that Kakeru, for some reason, gets more horny when talking to Takegawa. He then tells us that, fortunately for him, Aya stopped appearing in the bathrooms to ask him for things. A few days later, they are about to go on vacation again, so Mr. Cauliflower approaches him to invite him to karaoke. Kakeru has a déjà vu from the first chapters, but just like back then he rejects the invitation again, this time saying he has some things to do. But as we know, Cauliflower is a great guy and tells him that they will help him so he can accompany them. Obviously, Kakeru is happy, but he tells him that unfortunately, it's a private matter he has to do himself, and he can't stop thinking about how the guy doesn't realize that he doesn't like hanging out with him. Cauliflower, being an angel, tells him that they will wait for him then, but to please come along. Kakeru ends up accepting, somewhat pressured, but asks him why he always invites him. Cauliflower tells him that there aren't many opportunities to hang out together, since the second semester is about to begin and with it the rest of the exams. But before leaving, Cauliflower also decides to invite Aya. She ends up accepting and they all leave together. And the chapter ends with Kakeru obviously very happy to have accepted to go. Kakeru and Aya are sitting while Cauliflower and the others are dancing and singing. Honestly, I really like Cauliflower, haha. He tries to get Kakeru and Aya to sing now, but they obviously refuse. Kakeru decides to step out for a moment, sighing and thinking that being with them is truly exhausting. Just then he runs into Takegawa again. She says she's there with another group of friends, but seeing him outside looking a bit bored, she decided to go talk to him. Kakeru tells her that karaoke really isn't his thing, and Takegawa says it isn't hers either, so she suggests they escape from there and go somewhere else together. They agree to go see a movie, so Takegawa goes to get her backpack to leave. Everything seems to be going quite well, but then Kakeru's dick starts to get hard. He says he doesn't know why this is happening. Afterward, they go to the cinema to watch the movie. After finishing it, Takegawa seems to have enjoyed it quite a lot, despite it being a live-action adaptation of a comic. They decide to go eat somewhere. While there, Takegawa confesses that her dream is to work in the fashion industry. Kakeru is a little surprised, as it seems he had never thought about what he would do after finishing school. Takegawa tells him he has to keep studying to become a famous author, that after all he promised her. Kakeru tells her not to ask for the impossible, while thinking that he actually wishes to live a quiet life masturbating and working when he can. Takegawa tells him he should take his studies more seriously. Since he's intelligent, he should be able to get into a good school. Kakeru says he'll think about it, and they start eating. After finishing and leaving the place, Kakeru comments that the day was very fun, and they say goodbye, saying they'll see each other later. The chapter ends with Kakeru reflecting on all the new experiences he was living with Takegawa, and then something strange seems to be happening to him and he screams. What could be happening to Kakeru?